There we go.
Hi guys, as Father said, my name is Zach Schaefbauer, the great diocese of Sioux Falls. Since Father Gator introduced me, I would like to say a quote to start off the night that he mentioned to Father Hager last year during the evaluation season. He came up to him and said, "Boys enter SJV and leave as men. Sioux Falls men enter SJV and leave little less than gods." So my job tonight is to kind of give you a quick rundown of my vocation story, and there are many areas I could start in, so let's try to keep it short, do my best, and not leave out any important details. So I grew up in Aberdeen, South Dakota, northern part of South Dakota. It's exactly 5.5 hours west of here. I'm the oldest of 4 boys. I have 2 loving parents. And growing up, I really wanted to play Division I basketball. Starting in 6th grade year, I put 3.5 hours a day into basketball. Granted, some days I didn't, but for the most part, that was my mission in life. And I'm going to fast forward to my sophomore year of high school. We have this thing in the diocese called discipleship camp. It's a week-long, I don't know how many of you have ever been to Broomtree? It's a really great retreat place. And there we have 4 days of intense prayer, Olympic Games, and just fellowship, getting to know kids and other students from around the diocese, and see the great Catholic community that we have. And while I was there, it had been my 4th time, and I decided to actually take it seriously. I was a little on the edge of life at this point. Sophomore, you're kind of figuring out what the heck you want to do. You're nervous. You're almost done with high school. And, I took it seriously for about 2 weeks. One night, my friend and I were up until about 4:30 in the morning. Now, I do not recommend that. I'm not condemning it either. We were talking about our faith, though. It was something very compelling for me. And as he went to bed, I was still wide awake, full of energy, this whole new knowledge I had, and I decided to flip on SportsCenter and just sit there and watch it. And as I laid down, I thought I was getting ready to doze off, but instead, everything kind of went quiet, and a voice came to me. It was a female voice, and I heard it crystal clear. It said, "Zachary," which is my full name. And I shot up immediately, and the words I never will understand to this day, but the words I said were, "Here I am, what do you want?" And if you ever read the book of Samuel, it's kind of a big deal. So from there, didn't think about it. I brought it up to my youth group director. I just trusted him at this point in my life, and I said, "Tell me what's up." And he said, after thinking about it, it sounds a lot like a lot of other priests have told me. I feel like it's Mary using the church to call you to serve her at the altar. And my first reaction was, no, it wasn't. It had to be someone else. But he told me, just relax. I want you to pray about it. Ask the Lord why you thought of it tonight, why you wanted to bring it up tonight. So I did. Nothing. And we had a guest speaker that night. And in walks in a 5'7" college dude. And he looks at all of us and says, "I'm mostly here for the guys, but I really want to talk about a vocation to the priesthood and seminary life." And I almost fainted in my place. So I took it, that's what God's calling me to, I'm going to go hard. So sophomore year was a year of growing for me. I love the faith. I love studying the faith, and that's what I did. Hours on end. I was on Catholic Answers a lot. I was reading the catechism anytime I went to the bathroom. I was doing all sorts of stuff. And one day, November, I had a retreat, and I warn you right now, if you ever meet girls on retreat, it never works, all right? I'm throwing that out there right now. So, this is a week before my first seminary visit, and I'm talking to this girl on the phone, and I asked her, I'm like, okay, well, you're a year older than me. What are you thinking about doing when you go to college? And she's telling me, and I'm kind of listening. And she then asked me, she's like, what do you think about doing when you grow up? And nothing came to my mind. And thinking out loud, I said, I could see myself being a priest. And instead of explicit here, I was like, you weren't supposed to hear that. Well, long story short, that relationship ended right after the call. Anyway, so I went on my first seminary visit, which was to Immaculate Heart of Mary Seminary down in Winona. Loved the place. When I first got there, I'd never known what a seminary is. I knew what seminarians were, but I never knew what a seminary was. And getting there, it just felt right. I remember trying to leave and just starting to cry. I was just so taken aback by what I saw there and how real it was for me. So like I said, sophomore year I continued to grow, but the big key moment came my junior year, summer before my junior year. I went to another D camp, and there I was prayed over in a prayer group, and I said, I just want to know what the Lord wants me to do next. You know, we all kind of get caught in our minds sometimes like that. After about 15 minutes, the guy sits down and says, the Lord doesn't want you to know right now. He'll tell you when time comes. So I was kind of mad. And went back to adoration. And I bet you, a lot of you have seen the book, Save 1,000 Souls. Well, I had that there with me, because Father Haggerty here gave it to me on my birthday, which was the oddest birthday of my life. Golfing with seminarian and priest and eating breakfast with him, and that was my day. But anyways, I remember looking at this book when I got down there, just kind of wondering. And I saw in the image, you got the priest extending his arms over the crowd. And I looked out at the host, and I just started bawling. And you can ask any of my friends that were there. I think I was crying for about 25 minutes. And my friend came up, gave me a hug after, and said, "What's up?" And I said, "I think God's called me to be a Catholic priest." And from there, you know, the fruits come. And for about 3 months into my junior year, I was on cloud 29 and receiving a lot of spiritual insights. Like I said, I fell in love with the Eucharist. A little side note I like to tell guys when I'm telling them how in love I was with it. I was doing a talk on it for my youth group the next day. One Tuesday night, I was sitting there studying what the Eucharist was. And I started at 9 o'clock at night, planning on going to bed for an hour, and felt like 5 minutes. I looked back at the clock, it was 2 in the morning. And I just couldn't believe it. I was so in love with the Eucharist. I went to Mass every day before high school started. I was always late. Eventually got that worked out. But in those moments at Mass, every time I received the Eucharist, it was just joy, it was love, it was peace. And a few moments I was receiving flashbacks of my life from starting my early childhood on. And I'll just share one of those with you. My pastor, Father John Short, back when I was growing up, the vision was a bunch of simulated images of him and how he kept telling me anytime I came into altar serve from 3rd grade on, he said, there's the future priest. You're going to be a good priest. And I remember just kind of taking it like, okay, yeah, whatever. But I praise God every day for Father John Short, how much of an impact he was in my life. And there was a lot of other things like that too, but I'll leave that up. One that might relate more at home for you guys. I came on my first SJV visit my junior year, and I believe truly in fraternity with saints. If you don't have a relationship with the saints, you're going to have a rough spiritual life. And I was starting to develop a relationship with friends from St John Vianney way before I even thought about actually going to seminary. And while at seminary, you guys will get in these small groups tomorrow morning. And while I was in that, the guy that was leading it, the famous Aaron Becker, some of you guys might know him, he was my leader, and he told me his small version of his Vocation Story, and I was like, wow, this is like very similar to mine. I love it. I'm going to go talk to him. And I went and talked to him after lunch, and we had a good conversation. I asked him, about his life or whatever, and he's telling me a story about going to Rome and how he had been to Ars and this long, arduous journey there, and he had bought a bag of SJV medals that he had placed on the tomb of St. John Vianney and had it, third-class relics. And he had given one to everyone in his fraternity and his best friends. And I told him my vocation story at that point, and he looked at me and said, I knew I was saving one more for someone. And I still have that medal to this day. I have a third-class relic from Aaron Becker, and that's when I knew St. John Vianney was with me in this. That's when I knew God was calling me to the seminary. And the last thing I'd like to mention here, went full circle, your relationship with your mother. I found out later that, yes, that voice that called me was Mary, and also it's really strengthened my relationship with my biological mother. And the summer before I entered, we were going to Sioux Falls. It's about a 3-hour drive from Aberdeen, and she turned to me, and we were talking to them just about life, and she turned to me and said, you know, Zach, about a week before you were born, the reading of Hannah came up. And Hannah, and the story of Hannah and Samuel, if you guys don't know it already, Hannah came to the Lord and begged him for a child. And she said that this child to be dedicated to you if you give me it. And she told me straight up, she said, I really feel like that was me. I really feel like I gave you to the Lord when you were born. And I've always felt it since. I look back on it too, and she was pretty right. So, and now I'm here, and I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it, getting my butt kicked in formation, but at the same time kicking butt on the basketball court. So thank you. Enjoy the visit. And praise be Jesus Christ.
Now and forever.